Thank you, everyone. I totally agree. I'll have a few panels in the next couple of days, but this is very unique because we can go from quite technical to actually very much marketing talk. So I'm quite curious to see where we go. We already did it a round of intros, I guess. If you want to add something, feel free. But I would ask every one of you to give us like one sentence. What does building in public actually mean for you and your project?
Yes, let's start with, I think we are talking about trust and transparency and ways to teach and learn.
Yeah, I mean, for me, building public obviously is in transparency, but in most important, including like community. So building also tooling for the community to enable the community is something that is key for everyone and key for like the space to grow.
I think for me, it's kind of like when you are focused on like a certain problem, you become inside of an echo chamber almost, and everyone around you is really, really smart, and you assume that you're like the stupidest person about this topic because you might be with your small subset of people. So when you kind of learn something new, you might assume that, oh, everyone else already knows this. But I think what I've learned about building in public, it's like when I learned something that I didn't know before that took some time to figure out, there's so many people in the world that also might want to learn that. So I always just share that. And so many times that's really, really hit home to a lot of people. And that's just one kind of like top of mind thing that works for me in terms of building in public.
I always say that my secret power is being a dumbass. Like if I can figure out how to explain it to myself, then I can figure out how to explain it to other people. Like, yeah. So I think that I do a lot of developer growth. So for me, building in public a lot of times means showing other folks how to do it and showing other folks that it's not that hard and getting stuck, right? Having those moments of like, oh shit, it didn't work the way I thought it would. Now I have to figure this out. And then everyone kind of seeing you do that live helps them get over their own things.
Okay, I think we can go quite a few ways. I think for the audience, it would be pretty cool at the end if we have defined a clear model on what is building in public, what does it entail, and then we are supposed to discuss growth strategies, so preferably we will have pretty hands-on examples on how to build a project maybe from scratch as an open source one. And then lastly, maybe it's even not the right thing for everyone. So to start, I am curious to hear from you guys, like how has building in public moved the needle for you guys? Would you be here if it wasn't built in public?
Yeah, so I also promote Scaffold ETH, so I have a tool. So a lot of what I do doing dev growth for the EF is building in public to show how to build in public. So it's like literally my job to be building in public. I think that I probably wouldn't be here if not for that. I think when I first got into Ethereum, I tried to build games and no one really cared. It was like 2018, it just wasn't there. But when I started doing DevRel and started doing kind of developer relations for Ethereum and showing people how to build on Ethereum, it really resonated and I got a lot more views and a lot more people. So I think I probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for building in public. I think there's also this thing of like focus, like you're always focused on a million different things, but when you hit record and that red light is on you, you're focused on one thing, right? It's like getting the thing done in front of the camera and all the notifications go away and you can like really be in the zone and be locked in on building that thing. And so it's almost like an excuse to focus and ship too.
I would never have been here without definitely like these two guys here, right? Like, you know, the fact that, you know, I saw so much content being around, you also like pushed me to write content, shoot content. And I like the one thing that you're saying around focus on something, right? Because like if you need to actually, you know, thinking about a script, thinking about a video, a topic, you need to kind of like learn about this topic. So I think that was one way to kind of consume content. But I think the fact that I felt a responsibility for the community to get feedbacks. And I think that's how powerful is, you know, how do you say, creating in public is also the fact that you get feedback all the time. And I think also like it help you continuing with some kind of like, you know, pressure, right? I don't know, sometimes I'm working better on in a coffee shop or when I see actually people doing their work in some kind of library, it put me pressure. And if I'm alone on a table, I'm just going around and look at other things, right?
Yes, I think like I love to teach and I have something different way to teach some concepts. And I try to mix how I do this with fundamentals of blockchains and smart contracts, and in the same way that I can add something related to the project that I work, that's Chainlink. So in this way, I can even bring in more people to use Chainlink because they start learning with me. And this can be the strategy to have it all together and to have more trust in the project and with me all the time. So put this together, it was what makes difference for us.
Yeah, I think for sure I'm also not, I wouldn't be here without building in public. But in terms of like why you would build in public, it really depends on what your focus is. But I think it's kind of interesting when you think of developer marketing. Developers hate to be marketed to, first of all, but they love to solve problems and build cool shit. So if you can kind of like find ways to teach them how to build cool shit and not look like you're marketing to them and help them genuinely, it doesn't matter if they end up using your product or anything, you're helping them and they are learning something and you're getting your information and your ideas out there. And you over time will build trust and kind of build relationships, and ultimately that will kind of like move the needle. And whatever you're doing, it doesn't really matter. But for me, I got started doing this type of work when I had a consulting company called React Native Training, and I was trying to get clients. So I would essentially create like videos and answer questions on Stack Overflow, how to solve problems in React Native. And that led to a lot of like inbound for my business. And I kind of like have taken that and, you know, kind of used that same technique for just other things that doors have opened after that.
You're good at knowing what's hot too. Like you can get out ahead of a trend and you can really show that off before anybody else can get to it almost. And the loop is so much tighter now. With the 402 library you put out, I can grab it and I can say, make a server, make a client, here's Nader's example, here's what I want you to do, and Claude just like one-shots it, right? And then I'm learning from your video, but I'm more even just learning from the vibe-coded examples I'm getting from your code, and I can do it quickly and try things out. I don't even have to go like learn a bunch of things. I can just grab your repo and just start throwing things at the wall and see what happens.
Yeah, I think it's really different these days with vibe coding because, you know, it's just so fucking good. It's crazy. But if anyone wants to build something with X402, you can just run npx create X402, and it'll actually start giving you code bases to start with. I haven't announced that yet, but it's something that I'll probably put out there later today publicly.
I mean, there's hundreds of things that you guys can do, but what's the one metric that would be the deciding for you to track? And if possible, quick answers.
Yeah, that is easy for me. Like even in Chainlink, we track how the people use the services. And when I do some bootcamps, sometimes we increase the metrics 10 times. The first time that I made my first bootcamp, the big one, Portuguese, English, and Spanish, like the data analytics team come to us, oh wait, I think this week I cannot give you the results for you because it's something wrong. I told them, no, it's not wrong. I was doing a bootcamp. And it was that. So the way that we organize bootcamps, bring people from zero, really change the metrics inside the company.
Metrics you guys track?
I mean, for example, lately we added a bunch of like guides and tutorial, and we embedded also like question from Discuss. And right now we're tracking a lot of kind of like question being asked around the guides and tutorials, because if people are asking questions, that means there are problems. So it's actually negative seeing more questions, but it's also like a good point and pointer to understand if this is a good or bad guide and what else should we build on top of this.
I think this has been the biggest problem that hasn't ever really truly been solved in developer like tooling. It's understanding what drives the needle and what doesn't. I was at AWS for almost 4 years, and I remember on day one I sat down with my manager, and we were like, okay, let's figure this out. He was like, give me what you're gonna do and show me how you're gonna make an impact. And then 3.5 years later, we're still trying to solve that exact problem, even though we've been working on it for the whole time, because sometimes you just don't know what the fuck reason why someone picks something up. Sometimes you launch an incredible product and everyone loves it. Like you didn't have to go and market ChatGPT because people loved it so much, right? So like if you build a really great product, it just makes everything else just so much easier. So I think that's really the ultimate goal, and then we're just here to kind of share like how to build with it until you get to that point.
And that's like the lightning in the bottle. Like you don't always catch lightning in a bottle. Sometimes you do have to show the stuff off and go on the road and get people using it. I think with Scaffold ETH, we're notoriously bad at tracking people, so we don't have a lot of great metrics. We'll run into someone who, you know, you'll go to a conference and they'll be like, I built my app using Scaffold ETH, thank you. Like, and I'll have no idea who they are or where they came from or how they found us. And we're not tracking. Like, it's very cypherpunk. It's all open source and it's all available and there are no analytics built in. And what's interesting about that is the most successful people are sometimes the most private. Like someone will come up to me and be like, you know, I built this and I made X amount of money, but you can't tell anyone. And I'm like, oh, well, cool. So yeah, sometimes metrics are hard to track in the Web3 space too.
But I think all of us have at least GitHub metrics, no? Yeah?
What was that?
Like track GitHub, like how is your...
Yeah. Like forks and stars and stuff for sure.
Yeah, but this is the point, like what's happened for me, because I started before this, like I started teaching how to install MetaMask, how to create your first smart contract, not like a repo itself. It was hard to track this. So track about how they use services, it was a better way. But I'd like to only add like a funny thing. And I'm sad now because OpenSea doesn't show the NFTs anymore on testnet. But before that, I have one of my projects that a cross-chain NFT thing that I have more than 2,000 copies of the students. So this was so cool. I cannot still have this metric anymore, but this was a metric that I love it and I cannot use anymore.
We have our onboarding batches meant to an L2 because they're basically test nets. Like they're super cheap, right? So maybe go to an L2.
Nice.
Yeah, when thinking about questions, I actually thought there's so many things you can track just with GitHub, but the goal isn't to grow a repo. The goal is to build a movement, and all of you have managed. So I assume we have quite a few builders and founders here. How would you advise them to start growing their open source projects?
Be transparent. I think it is one good thing. And even in a way that you can really talk about your roadmap and talk about, or at least invite people to meetings that you are doing related to your project. I think we can start on that.
Also, crypto is a cesspool. And everybody who is a public figure gets hit with crap all the time. So when you go to them looking for validation, they may not see exactly what you have to offer because they're getting hit with so much junk all the time. So I remember I went to ETH Denver in 2018 and I showed Joe Lubin my game. And he was getting hit from every angle by everyone, showing them all their crap. And he didn't get it and he didn't see it. And to me, it was like, it didn't work. But it just, that's not the way to get validation. The way to get validation is to get it in a bunch of people's hands and get feedback. Like, don't go to Daddy Joe. Like, go to common users and have people use it and see what they do with it.
Yeah, I think you said a good point there that there's so much garbage that's out there, and I think it's also now the same in AI and regular software, because it's very simple to raise money in AI now. It's very simple to build a Hello World project that you can essentially convince investors to kind of give you money, like in the traditional software space also, right? It's not just crypto. And then everyone like claims that their product can like solve, world hunger or some shit like that. And then you like go to use it and it doesn't even have like documentation on it. So it's kind of like trust and all of that stuff. So like, how is anyone going to even listen to you over everyone else, right? I guess that's a question. I think developers just want to like solve problems. They want to build like valuable companies. They want to build applications that people use. They want to make money. So like, show them how you can do that with your product, and you'll probably be successful.
I think definitely the top of the funnel game kind of has been changed a bit, right? Before you were going in very specific kind of outlets, you were showing what you got. I think now it's more kind of like, trying to expose yourself to different channels. And I think like the other narrative that changed a bit was, I think like before was very easy to kind of get exposed to someone, hey, consume this deck, this is something that will change. But now, as you say, it's super easy. So I think like getting some kind of like proof of record even before, trying to kind of like do something else to get interest, I think is very valuable, right? I think even on the other side, right, when you're building something, like before you were very focused on where to post, right? I think now the game has been changing, it's kind of like broadcasting more out to the public and seeing what kind of like sticks, but most important, showing, I don't know, like showing specific people that you're able to build something valuable, and then approach the person, right? I think that's super important.
Yeah, well, one thing related to that, how can we can give some incentives to the people to be with us when we are building a public good project? This is what kind of incentives can be tokens, can be, or what else, what kind of reputation? I think this is something important when you are building a project that should be publicly open source.
Yeah, exactly. I want to stay with this question because let's be quite practical and tangible. Like, how do they onboard the first contributors? How does this journey look like? How do they build the incentive systems? There's so much that they can do. Also, like just a decision like, hey, which parts are actually fully public and which parts do I keep private in the start? Like, how would you do this?
Going back to Twitter's or crypto's a cesspool, like so is crypto Twitter, but also crypto Twitter is like a great way to get visibility, and you should just be like building and posting and repeat, right? Like over and over again. And maybe the first 3 builds you post on Twitter and they get 4 likes. But if you build a reputation for shipping interesting things, people are going to start paying attention, and then you'll start getting those first users, and you'll start getting that feedback. So I think while crypto Twitter is a cesspool, it's also a chance for you to get exposure and get distribution.
Yeah, I think even to have a community in like a Discord channel, a Telegram channel, something like that, that you can put the people that are interested in your project together, it's important as well.
I mean, just a bit to add, I think like the founder chemistry, like the co-founder composition chemistry change a lot, right? Especially with like, you know, go and build a product, kind of like cycle shorten so much. I think like distribution is like 8, 10x what was before. And if you look at distribution, I mean, you want to have like co-founder and builders around you that actually are able to distribute the product, but also get in front of eyes that are strong with prior kind of like track records. So I think that's also something that we should consider.
I think at the very core, you want to have a product that people want to use and that will like to use it. And I think that's the step that a lot of companies just skip over completely. They want to have a bunch of people excited about it and using it, or not even using it, I guess, because it doesn't exist. But all the pre-launch projects would be a good example of this. They want 1 million people like excited about it, but they haven't shipped anything. If you look at like, for me, it was Ethereum. The first time I actually like built anything on Ethereum, my mind was just blown, and I was like so excited about building more things because I loved it. And you know, no one had to kind of like explain to me why all these different things were important. I just knew it was awesome, and I kind of like just grokked it immediately. So if you can build a product that like does that, then you're already gonna like be better than 99% of everyone else out there. And then from there, just making it as simple as possible. So developer experience is notoriously bad in crypto. So just making it very simple for people to build valuable things. And yeah, it's not going to be easy at first. You can take feedback and you improve things. But I think trying to be as honest as possible about like what your product does will be the best thing in the long run, because if you try to tell them it's amazing and incredible like right this moment, but it actually sucks really bad, they're not going to listen to you once you get to that point where it is really good.
One point related to this, I think now the space is so big, and because of this, if you can explain well and give a good presentation of your project, this can help the people to be interested in build with you.
Your answers change for projects that are first closed source and then are moving towards open source?
I mean, I don't think so. As long as there's a way for someone to build something, if it's open source or if it's not open source, as long as they have a way to access it and build with it, I think, that's important. But I mean, obviously, if it's open source and you take contributions, it'll be a slightly different approach, maybe.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, we are at the Open AGI Summit, and something that's a bit more realistic or closer to the AI topic is with open source development, you always have to have a balance as the kind of founding team between transparency and security. How do you guys see this?
I think some things cannot, okay, we should be transparent, but not with all the things that can be used in not a good way. This is the point. We must be sure that things that can be used to hacks and to create problems, maybe it's not the moment to be public, maybe later when they have the solution.
My use case is a little bit different. I spent the last couple of weeks building a game for developers to play at Devconnect. And it's all vibe code. It's like 40,000 lines of code, 2,000 lines of Solidity, 40,000 lines of code. It's this game you play. It's really fun. You build out all these different coordination mechanisms for all these pirates that are working on chain. It has to be private. Like, I can't just have that thing just be fully public, because then someone will just drop the thing into Claude and be like, write the solution. So I have to like slowly reveal the code as I go. But I think the one thing I will say is the contracts are all on chain, and you can see all the contracts. I deployed it all to Arbitrum, and it's all verified on Arbitrum. So you can go there and you can see exactly how it works on chain. But there's definitely still some secret sauce that's not public, and eventually it'll all be public. But to make the game work, I have to be private about it. So maybe it's a different use case, but worth discussing.
I mean, I think security comes first. We're building for a product that user consume every day. Not speaking about wallets specifically, right? But there are certain components that need to be closed source, exactly as you said. So we don't have the privilege to open source everything. But it always depends on the case, right? I think people wanna be able to DD what you're doing. Especially with the balancer kind of hack, we see things are happening. Things could be happen before. We also try to start thinking about auditors. Yes, it's great, but also doing our own due diligence is important if you can. But but some part need to still there need to be a trade-off.
The balancer code was public for 5 years. It has always been there, fully open source, fully audited. Anybody could have done this the entire time.
Yeah, that's the craziest part about that whole thing.
I mean, in that case, it was pretty obvious how being open source backfired, but I mean, that's just crypto. It's always, the smart contract code is always going to be open source. But in general, how does building in public sometimes backfire?
Well, this is super hard. Sorry, Solange, to jump in. This is super hard because you're building something that you have to get perfectly right. And it has to be perfectly right forever, and it will be attacked forever. You put it out there once, and for 5 years, anybody can get to it forever. It just seems like the odds are so stacked against you to get it correct.
These are the smart contracts, yes. This is the dangerous.
He sounds like he's arguing for more, I would say, a T type of architecture, right? Or something like that. But there's security trade-offs with everything, so.
So you're going to stay open source?
Yes.
I think I got the answers to my questions and the goals that I had. I think you guys should have a pretty decent playbook now on how to grow your open source projects, and also which parts do you build public, which parts maybe not. But I'm sure we have quite a few questions in the audience too, and I see we do have 5 minutes left, so I'd love to give it to you guys.
Thank you. I had a couple of questions. I mean, firstly, if you want some metrics, I did use your tutorials, Austin, 3 years ago when I was learning how to build Ethereum, so thank you.
Thank you.
So first thing I had is, especially for you at the Ethereum Foundation, the Ethereum ecosystem in general feels like the developer ecosystem is getting more and more fragmented. with all the different layer 2s coming up with their own like, virtual machines and their own languages and all that. So how do you think about that as like a content creator, especially at the EF? Because like, especially if the EVM gets replaced with RISC-V or something, then there's going to be another explosion. There's already like multiple languages, but yeah, how do you think about that?
Be like Nader and be out ahead of things and be able to see the trends and ride the wave, right? It's really weird with EVM, like all these L2s are using EVM tooling. And at first that was awesome because it was like, okay, all the tools that work over here work over here. But now we're starting to see the product market fit on Ethereum is not the same as the product market fit on Base or Arbitrum or one of these L2s. They're much more, mainstream audience focused. Ethereum's starting to look like a settlement layer, and the L2s are starting to look like mainstream audience apps, and you probably use a totally different tool set for both of those. So I think it's something that we have to embrace, and we have to figure out what does the market look like, who wants to use these things, and then what is the best tool to make those things. And it may not look the same on Ethereum as it does on an L2, and I think we just have to ride the wave and get out ahead of it.
Thank you.
I think one point to add on that is the interoperability, because even doesn't matter in which chain are you, we should have the interoperability, the ability to have some kind of communication between all the chains.
I also think like no matter how we are evolving, we want to kind of like keep fully transparency around the space, create content that is consumable for every type of developer. So.
Thanks guys for the insights. As an upcoming builder, I just wanted to get an advice from you guys. And how do you think a builder right now sitting somewhere in another part of the world should balance between building cool shit while also maintaining good visibility on channels like crypto Twitter or something else?
Definitely not mutually exclusive. Almost like they're one and the same. If you're building cool shit, you'll get more visibility, I think. Like right now, if you're building on 8004, you're building agent-to-agent stuff, you're building on X402, you're building on a hot new L2, you're building ephemeral prediction markets that run on top of streams, people are loving that stuff. And if you can get that out there, you'll get a lot of followers.
Share your acknowledgement, teach you what you are learning, and the more you learn, more you teach, and this will for sure help you.
Document everything that you do, but also I think all the fails too, right? I think this is super important. I fucked up so many things. Seriously, I know every time I'm just going on crypto Twitter, I'm writing about lesson learned. I'm always start with the lesson learned. I think this is the most important things that you can do.
Nice panel here. I have a simple question for you guys. What is your touch on sustainable funding in open source space? Thank you.
The XKCD illustration of the one square holding everything together, right? And they're not getting any funding. I think it's always going to be a problem in a capitalistic world where open source doesn't get the same amount of funding. I think it's going to be super hard. We see ebbs and flows in the Ethereum space where people have more money and less money, and people are trying to do the best they can, and quadratic funding and retro PGF and a lot of things. Octant is doing a bunch of stuff. People are doing the best they can, but I think the incentives aren't necessarily aligned, and I don't know, maybe someone out there figures out a way to align incentives to reward open source developers better.
Yeah, this is it's a conversation that's been had for 10 years maybe, right, at this point, and it still hasn't been solved. If someone asked me 10 years ago, I would have been like, yeah, they're going to figure this shit out, but it still hasn't been figured out. But if you have an open source project that is the crux of $1 billion company, and that project is no longer being maintained, someone is going to have to step in, and it's going to have some natural equilibrium, right? Someone's going to have to go in and continue maintaining that and building that. So it sucks. It's extremely inefficient, and I don't know if we'll ever find a problem. It's one of the few things that I'm kind of pessimistic on.
We were talking about co-founders and having a good co-founder. I think in a lot of open source projects, there's that one nerd that just wants to build the thing. You should find someone else that's good at going out to other companies and getting value from them and pair up with them. Just building in the dark is not going to get you the funding that you're looking for. So I think maybe there's even something here of like co-founder speed dating that we need to do. And get those nerdy founders in silos paired up with someone who's good at talking to people and getting them connected with companies.
Yes, the diversity in the team can help this a lot.
The game changed so much, right? Product market fit can be found earlier. I think grants farming is something that is going away. There is so many kind of dynamics that change right now when you can actually like start building. I think the problem will come later when we have 40, 50,000 line of code that will be basically proved after you get a lot of funding and you have really things on production that start to scale up. So I think the scale up problem will be worse. But at the beginning, like I think things change a lot, and distribution right now is 90% of everything you can do.
Thank you so much. Time is up.